Johnson. This is Real Estate Uncensored. Welcome back, guys. This is our latest installment, and we're talking all about closing tactics and techniques and strategies so that you can know exactly what to say to close the deal. Greg, we've got Greg McDaniel here, as always. How's it going?
What's up, Matt? Dude, you and I did so much prep for this thing. I mean, check this out, guys. Not one, they got two yellow notepads we are going to be referencing off today. Matt and I have put an outline together that's going to blow your socks off. By the end of this, if you can't close a deal, it's not our fault anymore, okay? It won't be. I mean,
that's right.
We're going to give you buyers, sellers, miscellaneous stuff. It's just simply, it's badass.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. So let's get into it quickly here. So let's talk about just some of the scripting things that we've been going over, and we kind of broke it down into three categories. So we're going to be talking about buyers in terms of how to get more people to make a commitment to work with you and then actually follow through and make an offer. We're going to be talking about sellers, how to take more listings, how to set more appointments so that you get in front of more people, and then a little bit about negotiation phase. And then we've got some, like Greg said, some miscellaneous stuff that we'll get to. So let's start off. Let's kick it off with buyers, and talk to me a little bit about, like, when you're first meeting with somebody, how you're taking them through that appointment, some of the things that you would say to them to get them to trust you enough that they're going to work exclusively with you, whether they sign an agreement or not. We'll talk about that later, but let's just get them on board with working with you specifically to buy and make an offer on a home.
Okay, so when you're working with a buyer, you know what, they're like the low-hanging fruit in this business. The sellers are a little bit harder to obtain. Buyers aren't. They'll work with anybody with, a heartbeat, essentially. So how are you going to get them to work with you exclusively? Well, it's really easy. You ask them, hey, are you working with another agent? Yes or no? If it's yes, back off. Don't be a client stealer. If it's no, then say, help me understand what your perfect home is. Where would you guys like to live? What's your timeline for getting into your new property? Have you been pre-approved? Pre-approved is probably one of your most important questions, because if you're driving around with someone that wants to buy $1 million home, but they can only afford a $500,000 property, you're wasting your time. And you have to show value. This is going to be something that's going to be, said over and over and over. You have to bring massive quantities of value. So how would that be to a buyer? Well, it would be this. Hey, Matt, you know what? I really look forward to working with you. And you're going to do the assumptive close on this, because you're always saying, I look forward to working with you. We're going to do this as a team, so on and so forth. You're getting them included into this whole process. So psychologically, they're like, yeah, we're part of a team. Yeah, we're something bigger than just me out here hunting or just my family. And you're going to say, let's get started in looking for a property. I have access to a secret MLS that nobody really accesses, that have, I know people that are thinking about making a move, but they're not on the MLS. Would that be of value to you? Yeah, that'd be great. Or, Matt, we have a couple of properties that are going to be coming on the market here relatively soon. Let's go through and figure out what you're looking for. And would you like us to keep you updated on that? Well, yeah, of course. I mean, my father used to do this all the time at open houses. He would be sitting there and he would be talking to a buyer, and he's very calm. If anyone knows my father, he's, okay, how are you? Good to see you. Well, come on in, that kind of a thing. And then he goes, well, you know what? Would you like us to keep you updated on our upcoming listings? And even if we didn't have anything coming up, he would be saying that. And I'd look at him like, what are you talking about, dude? Of course, that's inside my head. And I'd ask him that. He said, Greg, we always have something coming up. It might not be tomorrow, but it's down the road, or another agent in our office has something coming. There's always something coming up. And I thought about it, I'm like, that's a heck of a good trigger, because you're not lying to them. You're just you're showing them value.
Yeah.
Is once you show them that you're not the average, dude or dudette out there, working in the real estate game, making 2 deals a year, making an average of $35,000, you're actually professional, you're on top of it, you're forward thinking, you're tech savvy. People want to work with that. That's an energy that they want to be around. You have to, present yourself as a powerful individual that can take on anything that these buyers need, because they're going to need their hands held. They want a leader. They need someone they can lean on. Once you show that, then they will start trusting you. Give them something without expecting anything in return. That's how I do it with a lot of my buyers. And it really never fails. I mean, honestly, they start relating with you. You start using the Ford script on them, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. We'll get into that later. But you draw stuff out of them so that you can speak directly to their wants, needs, and desires. Because if they're looking to, buy an investment property, but you think they're trying to buy a single family, their own property, and you talk to them in the wrong manner, then again, you have no value. You see? That's worked for me, man. What about you?
Well, as far as like some of the top agents around the country do have exclusive buyer agency agreements. And especially when you're talking about like a team leader that has several people underneath them. So the individual agents that are working on the team, it's like they can kind of blame it on company policy. So if you're a solo agent out there, it's an option for you. It is something that people do all the time. And so buyer agency agreements are not something to be afraid of. But Greg, I mean, you found it, you build such a relationship with people that you really haven't found it to be necessary. But if you, I mean, really the key to that, whether you use an exclusive agency agreement or not, is you have to bring the value. Either you have to bring the value to get them to sign the agreement and then they're on board, but you still have to keep them on board, or you bring so much value that they don't even think about working with anybody else because, you know, whether you use an agency agreement or not. But I do see that working because one of the things that it does, if you're asking somebody to sign something saying they will only buy a house through you, I think it really does force you to focus on what your value is and really figure out how to articulate it to a buyer in such a way, because you're actually asking them to sign something. So it's almost of more value to the agent because it forces you to think more and come up with, well, what makes me unique? You know, who are the people that I really like to work with that resonate with me, that'll be the most comfortable and that will trust me the most to do a great job for them. So it kind of has that extra benefit. And we don't want to make this all about, you know, like your unique selling proposition, but it really does a lot of times come down to how much value have you built up. And that's what some of the top agents are really good at, is they've figured out certain things like the off-market properties, like you mentioned, Greg, certain things that they can present to buyers that they don't really expect. And I think that's why that's so powerful.
It is, Matt. And a script that I use, if I'm not going to, that I kind of have made up a while back, and I call it the relationship script. And it goes like this, you know, Matt, you're my buyer in this situation. Matt, Rachel, your fictional wife. Hey guys, you know, I really look forward to working with you and helping you guys buy this house. I know we're going to tackle this as a team. And so what we need as a team, I'm going to need you guys to help me out. If you see something you like, you let me know. I'll do vice versa. Also, you know, let me explain to you what I bring to this relationship. I bring to this relationship my time and my knowledge. Those are my assets here. And very much like a romantic relationship, you know, we're in the dating phase right now. You know, I want to go to the next phase. I want to get engaged. I want us to start, you know, semi-working exclusively together. And then I want to ultimately get to the marriage phase. And that's us just going out there 100% as a team, you know, not working with anybody else. Because if you work with another agent, that's like cheating on me. And you wouldn't want to cheat on me, would you?
No, it sounds terrible.
It does. No, but see, what I did there is I used team. I used, you know, relationship. I use the analogy of being cheated on because unfortunately a lot of us have been cheated on. That sucks, and everyone knows that pain. Nobody wants to really, you know, the sane people out there, they don't want to do that to somebody else. And then I was sitting there, I'm like, you don't want to cheat on me, do you? You know,
with the head nod.
Yeah, enunciation, no, bad. And every time that I've done that script, it has worked out very well because they'll look at me and they'll be like, no. And then I say, that's fantastic, you guys. All right, hey, this is the next step. And then we step into everything. And I include them in every step. I don't kind of push them off and be like, well, you'll hear from me. Or look for the drips. It's like, no, okay, I'm going to go out and hunt for you. And a script that my father always says, like, okay, we're going to put our battle armor on and go to war for you. What do you guys need? And people, you know, and they envision a knight, you know, chunking stuff on, going, all right, let's go to battle, get my big old battle axe and going after them. And that's exactly what we are doing, though. We really are going to battle for our clients because we have a fiduciary relationship, right? We have to protect their best interests. Buyers, lowest and best price. Sellers, highest and best price. So it works for us very, very well. And I know it will work for everybody else that's watching this right now.
Yep. So let's move on to kind of the next phase of working with buyers. So you've got them working exclusively with you. You're looking at homes. Hopefully you're not looking at more than 10 to 15 because then you just want to poke your own eyes out.
Commit homicide on your buyers.
Exactly. So you're looking at no more than 10 to 15 homes. When you're trying to get somebody to pull the trigger on a home that you know is really the best that the market has to offer for them right now, what can you say, and we'll go over some of the specific objections, but just in general, like give me your philosophy on how to kind of lead them and persuade them to make that decision, to make the offer that you feel like is in their best interest.
Sure. It's a simple question. So I look at them and I say, Matt, Rachel, do you guys like the house, right?
Yeah, of course.
We love the house. Okay. So would you guys like to make an offer? And then you say yes, right? Yes. And then I say, okay, we have a decision here, guys. We can go and try to buy this home, or we can just go buy it. What would you like to do? Because people usually sit there like, oh, try to buy it. And that's like, well, we'll throw something at the wall, see what sticks. Or it's like, you know what? Let's go kick ass and take names. Let's go and just knock these sellers, knock their heads off with this great offer, great terms, great pricing, great everything, and let's get into a home. And so that's the question that I ask them. It's like, you guys, I might not ask you if you want to buy the home. I just say, so do you guys want to buy this house, or do you guys want to maybe try to buy this house, or do you think there's something better coming up? And it instills a little bit of fear. Like, so do you think there's something better coming up? And the wife's sitting there going, honey, make the damn offer. Because she's like, I'm sick of driving around this guy all damn day. So that's what I use. And that's
a killer script. Just that. Do you want to try to buy a house, or do you want to just buy the house? Like that's one of the best scripts I've ever heard. Actually, I like that a lot. I
actually made that up one day because I was so fed up with a buyer, and I said it like this. So do you guys want to buy the house, or do you just want to try to buy the house? And they were just like, we want to buy it. I'm like, all right, great. Let's get back to the office. Yeah, that was born out of complete and total frustration. So you're welcome, everybody.
And thank those special buyers for giving you that tip.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the specific objections. So, number one, give me some responses to just some really basic common stuff like, well, I think the price is a little too high, or well, I think that my monthly payment might be a little too high. How would you respond to that?
Well, monthly payment, that's going to come down to getting them pre-approved. So we're going to know exactly what they're going to be able to be pre-approved. So work with a lender that like, and trust, that is actually competent and not a fool, that says, well, I think I can get them pre-approved. It's like, no, dude, either you're doing it or you don't. And I want to know their ranges. I want to know everything about them. What are they putting down? What are they not? So on and so forth. What programs are they in? It's going to take a lot for me to negotiate that when we present the offer. And if well, the price is too high. Interesting. Tell me more why you think that. Interesting. What other comps have you found that would substantiate that thought pattern? That's interesting. I may think the same way, but I haven't seen anything in the market that would suggest that we would be overpaying for this. Actually, what I've found is that this is actually market value might be a smidge under. That's why there's so much activity on it. Then it goes in. And that's again, that sets the hook of fear. Like, wait a minute, crap, am I doing it wrong?
Yeah, that's a great point. Just that little tidbit of that's why there's been so much activity. It creates that fear of, oh, there's other buyers out there looking at it. I'm not the only one.
I'm not super special. Yeah. No, you're not. You're just like everybody else. You're out there looking for properties, and it's that give and take. You give the buyers a little something, then you take it away from them. Well, you know what? Maybe this just isn't the right house for you guys. Then I'm sure we can find something else that might be like this, might be as good as this.
Ooh, that's a nice one. That's a really good one.
They're like, huh? You mean this? What? Okay, let's make the offer.
All right. How about give me something for they like the house, but they don't like the neighborhood.
Okay. So Matt, Rachel, great house, kind of fits everything you guys are looking for. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Everything works, but the neighborhood sucks. Interesting. What about the neighborhood don't you like? Interesting. What has changed from the last time that we looked at a home in this area? Interesting. What about this area that I can keep my eyes open for in case this isn't the right property for you, that we can avoid it in the future? So what I'm doing is I'm asking them information about themselves. I want to get to know what's going on between their ears, because if something changed, or if maybe they drove back late at night and they saw the neighbor walking around shirtless, pounding beers as he walks through his front yard or something. And the wife is like, oh my God, I'm 9 months pregnant. I don't want the psycho living next to me, but we didn't see him in the first time. Those are things I don't know. I can't control those. So if I can understand that, I can avoid it in the future. Because if you try to push someone into a house, then you're going to be in a serious problem, because they are not going to be your fans at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. All right. How about the area is too new / maybe too old? Just objections about the area that the home is in, new
Again,
construction, that kind of thing.
it goes back to your original consultation with them. Matt, Rachel, help me understand what you guys are looking for. What areas do you want to look in? What type of properties do you want to look at? Because if you're showing them something that they don't want, well, what the Mike are you doing? I mean, that you're being an incompetent real estate agent. Everything starts with the open, Matt. That's what a lot of people don't understand. It's not the close that's so important. It's the open. It's the relationship building. It's the trust. Remember the relationship here. You don't want to cheat on me. We're going to be open and honest and, completely transparent with each other. That's where it really takes place because, well, Greg, this area is just too new for me. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I misunderstand something? My deepest apologies. If I did, it's totally my fault. That's another thing you need to do is they're not wrong. Okay. You're at fault. Own it. The buck stops with you. And I've done it multiple times. And I'll say, my goodness, I'm so sorry. Did I misunderstand something? I thought you were looking for a 2-story newer construction in this price point. Did I mishear something? And then they say, no, we just kind of just don't, we changed our mind. Okay, so now you've understood, like, well, you didn't do anything wrong. Maybe they talked to a friend, a colleague, a parent, a trusted advisor that said, don't buy in this area, guys. This isn't going to give you the best return. Buy in this area, and that area is going to be a lot better. So that's my, that's how I combat those types of conversations. Again, it goes all the way back to the open.
Trying to get to the question behind the question.
Yes, help me understand what's going on, because I can't do anything for you unless I know what your wants and needs are.
Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit more about the opening, kind of setting things up, but I think probably the best nugget there for scripting is just, it goes back to the original consultation, but when you're showing the buyer a home and they tell you, well, this doesn't fit my criteria, and it does, that's when you lead them back to, okay, well, here's what we went over in the initial consultation. Here's what you told me. Was there something in there that's changed or something in there that I misunderstood? And you bring it back to that. Now, assuming you've done a good job in that, hopefully they will then understand either I'm freaking out or they're not telling you something that somebody told them in the meantime. That's seems to be, I would guess, a lot of what that does.
It totally does. And you need to sit down and have a buyer consultation with these people. Minimum. Do a phone conversation, have a sheet, fill in the information so you can remember it all. Yes, we all think we have the greatest memories, but honestly, guys, we all don't. Write it down. Then you can reference back to it and say, I have it written down here that it says So yeah, start with the open. Don't focus on the close on that one, but always you're wrong, they're right.
Yeah, that's a great strategy too, because it makes people feel bad. And well, no, it's more like we kind of changed our minds, and they'll kind of be more open with you. So, so let's move on to sellers.
Okay.
So let's talk about when you're on the phone and you want to set an appointment with a seller to talk about listing their home. So, talk to me a little bit about how you lead up and build rapport and coming into that close, and what style of close you tend to use to set the appointment.
So what I do is I lead up if I'm doing cold calls or anything else. I'm calling about a specific property. Usually I do a lot of cold calls about sold properties. I'll reference back to a property. I'll put that little nugget in their brain like, hey, this is Greg McDaniel. I do who I am, where I'm from, what the heck I'm doing on the phone. Greg McDaniel, J. Rockcliffe Realtors. I'm calling in regards to your neighbor's property at 123 Main Street. Just want to give you the good news. It just sold for $72,000 over its list price in 5 days. I know they went multiple offers, so there's a bunch of other buyers that are just dying to get in the neighborhood because you guys got a great area, got to tell you. And so I just want to do a couple of things. I wanted to let you know what the home prices are doing. They're still going up. I want to see if you have any questions about the market, maybe, and maybe think if you guys are thinking about making a move. So what I've done there is I told them something positive about their marketplace. I didn't try to pitch them. I just told them I was there to give them, information. And my last thing was to ask them very subtly, very quietly, very calmly, would you guys ever think about maybe becoming a seller at these prices? And then once the conversation starts to break into the Ford technique, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, kind of extracting stuff out, understanding and building the rapport. Once the rapport is built, I say, well, that's great, Matt. Is there an opportunity that we can get together, or is there a couple of days and times that work best for you? I don't tell them when I'm available. I ask them when they're available. And that really softens it for them, because it's not me going, all right, Matt, I'm available Tuesday at 2 and Thursday at 11. It's like, Yeah, dude, you're the one that cold called me, bro. You're not going to push me into anything. You ask them, you draw them. You can't push a seller out of a home, but you can draw them out. Okay. So again, it's about the value. It's like, I gave you all this cool stuff. I'm knowledgeable. I'm tech savvy. I'm aggressive. I'm out there doing cold calls or door knocks or whatever. And now it's like, let's get together. What's best for you? That's how I get the appointment set. And then I just wait for them. They're like, well, let me check with my husband. I'm like, absolutely. Why don't I get back to you tomorrow? So I understand you guys need to make this decision as a team. Again, I bring in the team, the unit, that kind of a mindset, and it works extremely well.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about when you're going through like the four technique, and you talked a little bit about it before about going 3 deep with the questions. Explain a little bit more about what you mean by going 3 deep in terms of building rapport, and how you're kind of, what you're looking for in terms of like motivation and urgency and all that kind of tells you if they're ready to even want an appointment with you.
Okay. So let's say, Matt, you tell me, yeah, we've been thinking about selling. And I say, oh, that's interesting, Matt. What's kind of prompting the idea to get moving? And you respond with, well, we've been thinking about maybe, upsizing, or maybe, my wife might be getting a job or something like that. And I say, upsizing. Now, if you guys are going to upsize, would you guys stay in the area or move out of the area? Well, we'd stay in town. Okay, interesting. Now, with this bigger home that you're looking at, tell me kind of what you're looking for. I'll keep my eyes and ears open for you. Well, we want, 4 bed, 3 bath, 3,000 plus square feet, 3 car garage, and we'll go up to about $1.5 million. Okay, interesting. We know what? I think we may have one coming up on the market that's similar to that. What's your best email address? And then you get the email address and you say, is this the best phone number for you? Yes, this is the best phone number for me. Then, so you've got them interested. Now we need to get them committed, right? Now we say, okay, well, I know what you guys are looking for. Let's sit down together. Because I think there's a couple of things that I can show you. One, I can give you a real value on your home. We don't want to trust that Zillow thing. I think it's off by like 20 or 30% consistently. You know what? It's just not a good resource. It's fun to play with. It's a nice toy, but it's not a realistic what your value could be, because there's a good chance you could be worth a lot more than what you think. Is there a good time that we can sit down? Then I can come out, I can do a professional evaluation on your home. We can meet face to face. I can give you the value of your property, and then I can bring a couple of properties over to you that are actively on the market right now that might be of interest to you. What's a good day and time? And there it is.
Yeah.
It's just,
and again, it goes back to the value that you built up during that.
Yeah. I'm giving, asking for the business.
Yeah.
And that's where most agents and most salespeople fail. They don't ask for the business, which is absolutely mind-boggling and baffling to me. It's like you work your face off, you try to get out there, you try to find all these people, and then it's like, well, good talking. Okay, bye. It's like, what are you doing, you dumbass? Ask them to do business with you. You put in the legwork, pal. Get the reward.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where people struggle, because they question whether they've built up enough value. Because if they really knew that they were building it and throwing so much value at a prospective client, I don't know that there'd be so much hesitation to close.
There wouldn't really be any hesitation to close, because you built that relationship. A good thing, if you're going to go out and see them, I have a good friend of mine here. She shared with us this workbook that she takes out to clients, and it's done fantastically well. It's clean, simple, easy. It shows her value add, shows her team, shows everything. She shared it with us. We just reproduced it upon her giving us the good graces to do so, and we're ecstatic to put this thing to use. So bring something and show something when you go to meet with them. Don't drown them in paperwork. Drown them in value. Drown them in the reason why they want to list with you. Show them numbers. Show them stats. Don't brag, but be confident, and don't have swagger. Have style.
Great tips. I like that.
Distinctive differences there, and they'll pick up on it.
It is, yeah, and people can sense it. So that is very important. Is no matter how successful you get, whatever that means to you, to not come in there with that kind of swagger, because that will put people off pretty quickly. Unless
you're a kind of a dick and you like that, and you like pushy people.
I'm sure it works for some. Let's put it that way.
It takes all to make the world work, man.
That's right. You might end up on a show called Entourage, but.
Are you referring to me as Ari Gold?
That's right. All right, so let's talk about actually taking the listing. So let's say you've set the appointment, you've done all your, you've overcome the objectives to get to the appointment. Now you're there and you're kind of going through the listing presentation, you're building value. But talk to me about kind of that critical last phase of the listing presentation where you're coming up to ask them to sign the paperwork and get their home on the market. And let's talk about some of the objections that come up at the very end and just your approach to that final phase of your listing presentation.
Okay, so what objections do you want me to cover? Do you want to talk about?
So let's go. Let's start with commission cutting, and then we'll get into some of the other ones.
Ask them. You know what, Matt? I can appreciate your interest in that. There's a lot of talk about agents and getting our commissions cut, and I understand every dollar counts, right? I'm the same way as you are, but to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to be offensive when I say this, but do you have anyone coming into your office and asking to take part of your income? No, that's the same way. This is my bread and butter. This is how I put clothes on my children and food on the table. And I just showed you our value. Do you feel that we're not worth the going rate for commissions? Well, I never said that. And I totally understand that as well. But to be honest with you, we could be asking for 6%. That is also an acceptable amount. But we wanted to be kind and considerate, and we wanted to stay with the trend and offer a 5% commission, because we can take that extra percent that sometimes other people ask for and give it back to you. Can you understand where we're coming from? Yeah. I mean, then you have also the traditional one, like you can use the doctor script. Well, if you think, this isn't the doctor script, this is the amateur script. So you think this is expensive? Try hiring an amateur, and then see if this is expensive. When you guys fall out of contract 4 times because they can't negotiate. Now that's obviously a seriously hard close. But you can do this one. You say, well, I can understand that commission is important to everybody, but I'm not willing to cut my commission. Flat out. And people, if you just show, and again, that's showing confidence. No, we will not be cutting our commission. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people have the used car mentality, which is it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
They may have every intention of going with you and still ask you that question at the end just to see. Maybe you'll knock off a 0.5%.
Yeah, but then this is kind of cheesy, but if you can say, look, if I can't defend my own commission, how can you expect me to negotiate strongly for you when it comes time for with the buyer?
That is a great script. Look, if I can't negotiate my way out of this, I'm not going to do a very good job for you on the back end.
Yeah, I'm giving up my own money right up front. So you're trusting me to keep all your money on the backside?
Yeah,
no, not going to happen.
And another one that I've heard, and I don't remember where I picked this up at, so I can't give credit to the right person, but
me.
Okay, we'll call it Greg's script. It's just to bring them back to, well, what's your goal? So I understand that you feel like you want to save commission because you want to. Really, it's not about the commission, is it? It's really more about the amount of money that you want to get out of your home, and even it's not even so much about that. It's about getting into that next property, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You really have a goal of that next property. But I feel like I'm worth it, and I can show you a way that even with my full commission that we can get you out of this house with the amount that you need to get into the next property, and I can negotiate a phenomenal deal on the next property to get you where you want to go in the amount of time that you want to get there. Isn't that the real goal?
Right. That's the net script. Is it actually the commission, or is it what you're taking out?
Yeah.
What do you need to get, or you can go reverse. Okay, I understand. Let's talk about this. What do you need to take out of this home to get into your next property? How much money do you need? You talk, I need this much. Okay. What do you owe on the property? I owe this much. Okay. So you have this much equity. You need X, Y, and Z to go to the next home. That remain, and this is the commission. So if we stay at this number and we increase the property price by $5,000, $10,000, that would get you to the next phase. And I would still get my right, the correct amount of commission and be able to offer the appropriate amount out to the OB, the other broker. Do you agree with me? Yeah. And do you feel that I'm strong enough in a negotiator I can get you to that money? Well, you got me this far, yeah. Great. Let's move forward.
Yeah. Yep. So let's move on to some other ones. I think we fairly well covered commission cutting. Yes, so let's talk about one of the really tough ones, which is I want to think it over. They just will not pull the trigger.
Interesting. Why would you say that? Interesting. what in this presentation did I not, where in this presentation have I not shown enough value that you may have some questions on? You know, it's you just ask them, okay, why? Very innocently. Don't be like, why, dude? I freaking rule, man. I was a badass presentation. I was impressed with myself. You want to think it over? Man, I don't know if I want to work with you. You're a clown. You know? Highly advised.
Are you sure that's not a bad script? I don't know. I think I might use that one in some other applications. I think it's great. Like I am the shit. Why would you not work with me?
Yeah. Hello, number one. I told you I was number one. Why wouldn't you want to work with me? No, no. But honestly, when it comes to I want to think it over, you ask them. You know, that's interesting that you would say that. What would be a reason for that? You know, and that's where you go 3 deep. You ask them, you know, 3 questions below that. Why? Keep digging. Find that real reason. You know, and they'll tell you,
especially if they're on a short time frame. Like you can really leverage that if they have any kind of a time crunch.
Oh yeah. Oh, so Matt, you're getting a transfer, right? Yes. Okay. When do you guys leave? 3 weeks. May I be as bold to ask of why we are not moving forward right now for on such a time frame, you know, constriction? Our team can get you up on the market in 7 days with photos fully gone, fully loaded. What can we do to make this thing move forward tonight? Yeah. It's that fine line of being pushy, but yet confident and strong. You know, nobody in this world got where they are by being a pushover. Yeah. So stand your ground. He or she who wants it most will find a way to get it. So be that stronger person, but in a positive, uplifting way so that everybody involved feels that they win.
All right, now let's talk about one last one here on the seller side before we get into negotiation. So this is a pricing one. So another agent thinks it's worth more, or, well, I have another agent is willing to list it at X. Let's say it's, you know, 5% higher than you quoted them.
Great. So that's where it comes down to running your numbers, you know, and you tell them up front, this is the opening again, guys. You know, we have a success rate of X, Y, and Z of getting our properties sold at or above listing price. And the reason why is because, you know, you explain it to them why you're so good at it. We actually had this happen to us. I found a property, West Side Alamo, just drop dead gorgeous. Probably some of the best architecture I've ever seen in my entire 15.5-year career. We go in, we meet with them, we build the rapport, we do everything we're supposed to do. We come back, we give them a price like around $3 million. And then another agent in the area came back and told them it was worth $4 million. And we're like, it's a joke for it to be at $4 million. It's a great house, but it's not worth $4 million. And so guess what, guys? It sat and sat and sat and sat and sat. That's what we call buying a listing. You'll tell an agent, you tell a homeowner anything. You know what? And if it comes down to that, just tell them. You know, say, why were we not able to get the home? You know, list the property. Well, because agent ABC over here said it was worth X, Y, and Z. That's interesting. Is there any comps that they showed you that justified that price? Yeah. Or where may I be as bold to ask where you're getting the information that it could sell for this much? You know, put that little bit of fear in them, and just, you know, if they're not going to listen to you, then they're not going to listen to you. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. And unfortunately, you don't want to take a property on at a price that's not going to sell, because it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, if you're marketing it properly, yeah. So let me ask you this, kind of piggybacking off that last question, because I can see the scenario coming up, which is I feel like if you were to ask that question, like, where are you getting the information, or like, are there certain comps that you can show me that back up where you're coming up with that number, or where that agent feels like that number comes from? And they say, well, my neighbor listed his home at X, and I've done X, Y, and Z to my home that makes it worth that much more. And you realize, oh, okay, it's like, what's the script for handling the unreasonable expectation of upgrades?
Well, because it comes down to price per square foot, right? So I bet you that home was either probably a little bit bigger, and maybe even though it wasn't as upgraded as much as yours, you're a smaller home, so it doesn't work in the same manner that, like, the bigger the home, the higher the price per square foot. It goes in the opposite direction as that, right? So you can't say, well, they listed their home at $500 a square foot. I want to list mine at $500 a square foot. It's like, no. We also talk about backyards, locations on the street, you know, different amenities. You know, there's so much. We're not going to get into pricing right now. you basically need to work them through, because when you did your CMA, your comparable market analysis, I guarantee you that you probably saw everything that's out there. You need to focus them on the price per square foot and how it doesn't work the same way. That's how we talk to them all the time about it. And logical people will totally get it. Now, if you're gonna have something completely irrational, again, guys, there's not a script that can solve everything. I'm sorry. If they're just like, well, I want to list it for that. Well, you can have, well, actually, there is a script for this. Okay, Matt, you know, I understand that you want to list your home for $900,000 when the home is probably worth $700,000, right? I can respect that. So why don't we do this? Why don't we list it for 14 days at 900,000, and then on the 14th day, if we don't have any offers in hand, we'll get together back as a team. We'll reevaluate, take a look at what is sold in the area, and we'll readjust our pricing accordingly. Is that fair to you? That's an opportunity to let them win, and then also for you to win, because then you can have the opportunity to get back in front of them and be like, look, you're an idiot. I told you you're an idiot. Now here's the real pricing. You know, because it comes down to ego on that. We have a client right now that did not want to take our advice. They priced the home $50,000 to $60,000 over what its true value was. They called us up the other day, all kinds of ticked off why it wasn't selling. And I had a very blunt conversation with them. I told them, look, because you overpriced your home, you didn't listen to our advice. And you know what? This is the reason why you sat. This is why we're getting lowball offers. You know what? And sometimes you just have to have that bold conversation with a seller and just say, well, screw it. Here we go. Yeah, because it coming down to it, it's your reputation too out there. If your properties are sitting and they're not selling, what is that going to say to other sellers that are watching the agents and the markets? So you have to be able to be strong and negotiate, because in all honesty, the pricing is for their best interest. I mean, honestly, look, guys, I would love to price, you know, at 900,000 because that's more commission for me. But if it doesn't sell and we get a lower price than what you're truly worth because we became stale on the market, that only hurts you. I'm doing this for your best interest, and you tell them that. Hopefully they'll listen to you, but you know, like in our case, our people didn't listen to us, and you know, they didn't get the price that they deserved.
Yeah. There's an agent that I came across last year, and I don't remember how I came across them, but it was in the context of the guaranteed sale offer, which a lot of people do, say in the Midwest and the South, when the prices and the days on the market are fairly predictable. So they offer the guaranteed sale, and the caveat to that is if they go into a listing presentation and that seller says, you know, I'm not willing to list at your price, they will still say, okay, well, let's take the guaranteed sale off the table, and you actually have to sign an addendum to the listing contract that says that they're choosing not to take our best advice and to list at the list price of their choosing, and we make no guarantees that the home will sell at that price. Like they have an addendum written out that they actually have to sign saying they're not taking their advice on price.
That is awesome.
Isn't that great?
That is awesome. That's just like, look, I told you, I'm wiping my hands of this. I'm done. You know, say la vie, I'm out.
Exactly.
But,
all right, so let's get into negotiation, because we're moving right along. We've got about 20 minutes left, and we want to make sure that we cover this and some other miscellaneous stuff. So talk to me about the negotiation phase, whether it's for buyers or sellers or not, but what's your process leading up to getting them to either get that offer to close, or to make the adjustments that they need to the offer to make something that's reasonable work?
You talking like, okay, so I'm talking to my buyer and I'm like, hey, do you guys want to, you know, do you want to try to buy the home, or do you want to go buy it? Right?
Yes. Yeah. Talk about that script. That's a great one.
So in the competitive marketplace, there's a lot of people that are going after the same homes. And if this is maybe the first offer people are doing, you know, they'll try to maybe not listen to your advice. But what I do for my folks, because I'm going to qualify these folks in this script as well, I'm going to understand what their mindset is. I say, Matt, Rachel, we have two options here. Okay. We can either go try to buy the house, or we can just go buy it. What would you like to do? You see how my tone changed on these two? Yeah. Well, we can try it, or just let's go do the damn thing. Yeah. And you're like, let's put our best foot forward. Let's go get this house for you guys. Come on, let's go get you guys a home. And you tone up, and everything's exciting. And that's my script for those folks. Like, look, do you guys want to do it or not? So that works extremely well. Have you heard anything else? Do you have any other scripts that maybe you have from some of those top brokers you've been working with?
Not so much on the buyer side of it. I was thinking more like on the seller side, because obviously the most of the time, by the time you hit being a top agent, you're focusing almost exclusively on listings.
Mhm.
So for me, what I've heard is when you're dealing with sellers, and probably the biggest objection is when you're having to present an offer that you know is probably the best offer they're going to get. Sometimes that's even the first offer that they get in a lot of
Yeah,
markets.
80% of the time.
Yeah. And so like, you know, as a professional, like you're holding an offer in your hand that you know is probably in their best interest to take. But a seller's mentality is, well, I want to wait as long as humanly possible, and I want to get as many offers as possible. And then out of those, I will cherry pick the one that I feel like is the best. And it unfortunately just doesn't work out that way. So you have to bring them back to, okay, well, what's your goal? And then you have to like go back and explain to them again, here's what happens if you're on the market for 2 to 3 weeks. And in some areas, it might be just a week before it starts to get stale, depending on how low the inventory is. So, talk to me a little bit, Greg, about like how you would handle that situation, or maybe get into. We talked a little bit about role reversal and some of the techniques for that, and how to put yourself in the other person's shoes. That might apply to that same situation.
So for getting for the seller for the offer, what we typically do and what's common in our area is that we set a date for offers to be accepted and reviewed. So typically in our territory, it's Thursday Brokers Tour. That's when we debut the property. Wednesday night hits the market. Thursday Brokers Tour, and then you can show it all the way through Sunday. On Monday at 5 o'clock, offers are due. So we set the expectation for the buyer's agents and for our seller. What that does is it allows plenty of time for the property to be exposed onto the market to the willing and able buyers. But it also shows to the seller, and you can leverage this negotiation later. Why isn't my home selling? Well, we gave the buyers, in the marketplace until this date and time to present. If we don't have anything, because we didn't get anything, it probably says one of two things, but I'm pretty sure it's just one. And I've never seen a home sell for under fair market value, and the market is telling us right now that our property may be priced slightly above where the market is. And I use the old analogy of buyers are like fish. Okay, when you're fishing, you can put your lure or bait at different levels, aka different price points, right? So you need to either lower or raise your lure, your price, to where those fish are biting. And people get that. They're like, oh, okay, I just need to adjust slightly, and then we get offers. It happens all the time. People want to try it at a certain price. We say, okay, we try it again. We reduce it down to where we know it should work, and bam, you get the offer.
Yeah. All right. So give me, Greg, what's the single greatest negotiation tactic in the world?
Silence. It is the most unnerving thing on earth.
Yeah.
People, try it with your friends, your spouse, whatever else. If you're in an argument, don't go flying off the rails. Just go, that's interesting. And just let it happen. Do not speak. I guarantee you it'll get so uncomfortable. They'll be like, what? I don't get it. Or if you're with a client, they're like, well, we don't feel that you're doing a good enough job for us. It's interesting. And just stay silent. It might get uncomfortable, but they will speak.
Yes, they will.
And if you can hold out, you will win, because they will feel compelled to speak, and they will start rationalizing, explaining to you what's going on. Well, we just didn't think you did a good enough job because our home wasn't in the newspaper. Interesting. So the newspaper has not been a viable way to market in a decade. So why do you feel that we misled you when everything is going digital? You would never have known it was a damn newspaper. But since you sat there, they're like, I got to barf on you somehow. I'm going to get this out of me, because the silence thing's killing me.
Yeah.
My dad used to do that to me. He would negotiation tactics. He would summarize all the time. This is what we're talking about. This is where we're going. We're trying to achieve goals. What were the other ones he did? He did role reversal all the time. So Greg, if you were in my position, what would you do? Well, I'd do this. That's interesting. Explain that to me a little bit more. He would paint me into a corner then I'd sit there and go, damn it, I got freaking backed into a corner, because I would be mouthing off and he'd just be sitting there like, oh, interesting, Greg. And so that's what some of the stuff that I
Dad
do now.
sounds like the Zen master of real estate.
Unreal, dude. He can take an irate client, and this is where some of the negotiation stuff that I got was I watched him take irate clients, and through being calm and just passionate and asking questions and focusing on what he can control and summarizing and role reversals, he was able to show a client a better way. And if you have to, sometimes when it comes down to negotiating with clients, you have to be very firm with them. Say, Matt, that's inappropriate language. I will not be spoken to in that way. That's not professional. Please stop immediately. And you immediately are like, I just got like pimp slapped by my real estate agent. The heck just happened? I had a client the other day. He was flying off the rails on me. And I just turned to him on the phone. And I said, you will stop that way of talking to me immediately. It is unprofessional and it's not kind. Now stop it. And he immediately shut his trap, and his wife started taking over, and he could tell that she was like, oh my God, my husband's an idiot. And we finished the conversation and we were able to get their home sold. But that's part of negotiations. You have to know when to fold them and when to hold them, right? Yeah. You know, you can take a little bit of crap from your clients. I mean, it goes with the territory. They're emotional, they're high strung, they're freaking out, the whole thing. But don't let them step on your head, you know, and punish you.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on and kind of tie this up. Let's talk a little bit about the mindset of closing and where closing actually starts.
Closing starts at the open. So what you need to present to your buyers or to your sellers is value beyond belief. Are you different? Are you credible? Are you reliable? Are you believable? Are you authentic? Are you trustworthy? Once these core values are communicated over to your client, closing doesn't have to take place. You don't have to use a tricky line, and certainly do not be using the ABCs. Always be closing, Glengarry, Glen Ross. That is crap advice if someone gives it to you, because it's like you going into a store and someone trying to close you instantly on buying this shirt or this pair of pants or whatever else. Look, I don't want that. I wanted the baseball hat. Stop trying to close me on something I don't even want. You know, and they don't want to be sold, but they do want to buy. I know it's cliche. It's been said a million times, but it's the truth. Mm-hmm. You know, so present value. I keep saying this, but I hope this is resonating with you. Please come up with what your true value is. What's going to make you stand out? What makes you different? If you can't convey that, I can almost certainly tell you the sale will not take place.
Yeah, regardless of how good you are at closing.
Yeah, regardless how good you are at closing, you know. Well, I got some notes on one of these things. Okay, you can also ask them, you know, at the end, you know. So, are you folks ready to move forward? Or so, is this something that sounds good to you that would work well for you? Simple, easy, straightforward, no BS, no fluff questions. Matt, are you and Rachel ready to move forward and buy a home?
Yeah.
Yes, Greg, we are.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because you can, like that, you can do it anytime, and you can actually do that a couple of times throughout your presentation, your meeting, whatever it is, and just ask them. It's all about just moving them towards the next step. It's not about necessarily closing the deal. You know what I'm saying? It's moving. Okay, well, what's the, how can we go to the next step? What's the next step in the process? Let's move forward. Yeah. And if you've already done your job up to that point, that question isn't uncomfortable. It's not awkward. It's not anything. It just is. It's just, well, we're ready to move to the next stage. Let's get moving.
Yeah, and it's this. You have to have perceived value and a perceived difference. It also they have to be comfortable with you, and it has to be the right fit, because you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. All right. There are some people that you're just not going to resonate with. That's a fact. And that's okay. You know what? That's why we're all in this business. You know, if Matt was back in real estate, there'd be people that would resonate with him and more than they would with me. And same with all of us out there. So keep that in mind, but understand and show your value. Don't just, try to spout off some really fancy scripts and, be done with it.
Yeah. Now, we were talking before we went on, and you accidentally delivered possibly the best quote ever. I don't know where that came from. It kind of poured out of you.
Yeah.
Closing. What was the best quote about closing?
I'm trying to remember. crap, I should have wrote that down.
Okay. I have
so-
the approximate.
Okay, yeah, remind me. I'll
Okay.
be able to get it.
So here's what you said. Closing is not about bullying your prospect into a position for your betterment. It's about massaging a conversation that leads them to their best interest.
I'm so glad you wrote that down. Because I was like, I don't know, I said something. But it's true, totally true. You don't bully someone into a home or a contract or anything. That's not what it's about. Like I said, it's massaging the conversation and the situation for their betterment. Once you understand that and grasp that, so think about that. Don't bully them into something because you use a fancy script. Massage it for their best interest, and they will thank you for a lifetime.
Yeah. And my contribution to that and to this, I love to bring books. So I wanted to show everybody just a quick, a really phenomenal book that I came across here a while back. And
by the way, I already purchased that on Audible.
Oh, nice. So it is called Never Be Closing. And these guys are coming from the B2B space. But they have some amazing, amazing tips on how to prepare for meetings with potential clients, how to get your scripting together that's actually unique to you and to your service that you offer, and kind of coming up with what differentiates you and just different things like that, as far as how to kind of get your scripting, the different scripts that you use within a presentation or a meeting, getting those together and internalized so that they're unique to you and not just regurgitated stuff that other people have come up with. And then about how to just move people through the stages. And a lot of it is about just preparation. Just making sure that you're prepared for the meeting. And Greg, you talked to me about this. We haven't covered it a lot on the Hangout yet, but just how important it is to go in prepared and know what you're talking about so that you can deliver real, tangible value, because that solves 90% of the closing problems right there.
Yeah, it starts with your first conversation with these folks. You have to understand what their want, need, and desire is. What is prompting them to be communicating with you? Because we know that more than 90% of the general public have no desire to talk to a real estate agent. So like I said, there's a want, need, or desire. Extract that out of them. Understand where they're coming from. Ask the question, this revolutionary question, and go, Matt, what may I be as bold to ask? Why you guys are thinking about making a move? It's that simple, guys. Maybe I'm getting a job transfer. Unfortunately, maybe they're getting divorced. Maybe we're just buying a bigger house. We won the lotto. Maybe I lost my job. We need to sell, go buy a condo. Whatever it is, then you go and you show up and you bring things appropriate to their want, need, or desire. And there's this thing called Google. Google them. Figure out who they are. We do that all the time for clients, because what it can do is that you can subtly drop things in the conversation. Like we're just worked up a client that works with Cisco, right? And I'm like, yeah, and he didn't know I Googled him. And I found him on LinkedIn very quickly, and right up on his quick little bio, and I just dropped a little hint like, yeah, you know what? I was just down over by Cisco's offices down in Pleasanton. They got an impressive setup down there. He's like, because he had great views, you could see down the valley. And he was like, I work at Cisco. I'm like, no kidding, man. What do you do? So, and it brought it out of him. We have another client of ours that we just found out after Googling him and reading about him that he's been commissioned by 2 U.S. presidents to work on the economic boards. And so we knew that he was strong in those areas. And so we were able to speak to him and be able to be relatable to him on those fronts. So that's what we do. And it's really simple. I mean,
cyber stalking with Greg McDaniel.
Absolutely. Next hangout's going to be Google stalking and cyber stalking. I'd be the biggest creeper in town.
That's right. So the key there is, shall we say, subtlety?
Subtlety, yes. You don't want to be like, so how do you like working at Cisco, Matt? How do you know that? Don't worry, I'm just stalking you before I showed up.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, right? I drove by your house and I seen the bumper sticker.
Actually, speaking of that, there is a site and an app called Refresh. This is totally stalking, by the way.
Okay.
And Refresh is a totally free app, totally free site, and you link your social networks to it. And what it will do, since Matt and I are friends on Facebook, it'll show me what Matt's been up to on his different social networks. So if I know he just took a trip to Hawaii with his wife, well, then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to meet with Matt. Okay, click Matt. What's going on with him? Okay, yeah, man. So I'm at the listing appointment. You know what? My wife and I have been really looking to get to Hawaii, one of these days sometime soon. Oh, we just got back from Hawaii. No kidding. or you can see what job they're in. You can see a lot of what's happening. Yes, when you do sign up for this thing, it is creeper status, but we're using it for our good, so go ahead and give it a try.
Yeah,
I really like it.
Yeah, and that goes back to that's a whole nother level of preparation, but it's really just about understanding them a little bit better, so that you know kind of how to phrase things, how to behave, maybe what disc, part of the disc profile they fall into, just stuff like that. It's nice to know, to go in and understand, okay, just on average, maybe what type of personality there are. Maybe I need to kind of pull back because I'm really over the top and really dominant, and I need to be a little bit more people friendly, or I need to be more stable and a little bit more low key. Just stuff like that. It gives you a clue into how to relate to them, and then if you can come up with something very, very simple that you can kind of find a common connection with, all the better.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because people love to do business with people that they have in common with. It's part of that. People do business with people they like.
Absolutely. And so go stalk some people.
Yeah, that's right. So if you take away anything from the latest episode of Real Estate Uncensored, it's go out and get refreshed and stalk people on social media. I love it. Always something unexpected here.
This is totally going to come back and bite us in the ass.
Oh, I hope so. That's right. I hope people find just horrible things about you on Facebook.
Hey. God, where's the friendship? Where's the love?
That's right. All right, guys. I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this latest episode on closing.
Wait a minute. I'm going to give you guys 4 phrases that can pretty much get you out of any situation, personal or professional. Okay. So this is how it goes. It starts off. You say, well, that's interesting. Why would you tell me that? Or why would you, that's interesting. Tell me more. That's interesting. Why would you do that? That's interesting. Why would you ask me that? Those are very simple, very easy phrases that you can use in your negotiations. You can use in your personal life. You can use it with your kids. Your kid goes, I'm going to go out and, dye my hair pink and get a nose ring. That's interesting. Why would you do that? Or if a guy or gal you're negotiating with goes, you know what? I just think I think you didn't do a good job. That's interesting. Why would you say that to me? It draws people out. So there are your 4 nuggets, guys. Go kick ass, take names, wash, rinse, and repeat until the next episode. Matt, I'll let you take it home, buddy.
All right. We're excited for the next one. We're not exactly sure what we're going to do for a topic, so this will be fun. If anybody has any comments or questions, I know you got a really good, we got some good feedback the other day from some other brokers and agents in your area. And they had, what was the question that they wanted us to deal with next time?
Price reduction.
That's right. So we might do something on that. We'll maybe sprinkle some other topics in there. We've got a lot of stuff cooking. So join us for the next episode. We'll give you all the details and send out an email and let everybody know when it's going to be. It's probably just going to be 2 weeks from here on the Friday. So with that said, that's going to do it for the latest episode of Real Estate Uncensored.
See you guys.
Thanks so much, guys.